So we are going to be taking some notes on exponents. And before we get started, I really kind of want to just start with some vocabulary. So if we can start right here, the first definition says in multiplication, it's each of the numbers that are multiplied to get a product. So what we call those numbers when we're multiplying them, like if it's 5 times 5, the 5 is called a factor. So let's fill in the word factor there. Factor. Okay. Then the second definition says the answer in multiplication. So when I get the answer to an addition problem, it's called a sum. So for multiplication, the word that's kind of like that is called a product. So let's put product there. All right, now these two specifically have to do with exponents. So it says a factor that is multiplied by itself as many times as indicated by its exponent. So what that factor is called the base. So go ahead and fill base in. And finally, a number that represents the number of times a base is used as a factor, that is called an exponent. Go ahead and fill in exponent. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next section. So here, they're actually showing us what it looks like. So the base is this big number here. In our example, this 5. It's gonna look like a normal number when you're looking at it in like a number sentence. But then the little one up in the corner is called an exponent. So this 3 right here is called an exponent. So the big number is the base, the little number is the exponent, and I just want us to practice identifying the two. So I'm going to do number 1 with you. So number 1 says it's 32 to the 6th power. So 32 is the big number. That's called the base. So I'm going to write 32 in here. And the little number up in the corner is the exponent. So the little number in this one is a 6. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and have you pause. And I want you to do number 2. And after you're done doing number 2, you just push play again, and I'm going to move on to the next section. Okay, so now we're moving on to the section that is how to read these. So there's kind of a normal way to read them, and then a couple of them have an extra little special way that we can say them. So we'll go through the normal way first, and then I'll show you the special way that we can add on there too. So for number 1, it says it's got a 65 as the base and a 2 for your exponent. So the way we would read this is 65 to the 2nd, because it's a 2, to the 2nd power. So let's write in there 65, let's see if I can fit it in there, 65 to the 2nd power. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and skip down to number 2, and again just do the normal way first. So this one has 24 as the base, and a 3 is our exponent. So we have 24 to the, this time it's a 3, so it's to the 3rd power. 24 to the 3rd power. Make sure you're filling yours in as well. And I'm going to skip down to number 3. So this time the base is 17, the exponent is 4, so it's going to be 17, always saying the base first, 17 to the, it's a 4, so it's the 4th power. Okay. And then I told you there was a little extra special way that we can say these. So when we have an exponent of 2 and 3, those are the only ones that have an extra little special way that we can say them. So when there's a 2 up in the corner, sometimes we'll say that as squared. So I would say 65 squared. You've heard that before when you were doing area of like rectangles and stuff in the past. So that's the same idea here. Okay, and then for number 2, when it's got a 3 in the corner, we could say that as cubed. So for that one, 24 cubed. And you may have heard of that if you ever looked at volume in the past. Okay, so normally we'll just say the number of the base to the, and then second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, whatever power it is, whatever number that is, and then power. Or if it's got a 2 as the exponent or a 3 as the exponent, there's this extra special way that you can say it as squared or cubed. Those are the only ones that have the special way to write it. I'm going to have you go ahead and pause now and do the ones that say try these on your own, so 4, 5, and 6. And when you're done with those, come back to me and I will start with the next section. Okay, so now we got to look at what this actually means. We know kind of how to pick apart the pieces and how to say them, but what in the world is this even talking about? So if I look at number 1, it's got 3 to the 4th power, and back in our definition we said that what was going to happen was the base, so in this one our 3, is going to be multiplied by itself as many times as the exponent tells us to. So for this one the base is 3, so I'm going to multiply 3 times 3 and times 3 over and over, but I need to make sure I do it however many times that exponent tells me to. So here it tells me to do it 4 times. So I'm going to do 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. I did that 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So 3 being multiplied by itself 4 times, just like the original exponential form told me. I have to actually be able to solve that, so I'm going to rewrite it down here below so we can kind of see how to solve that. So we have 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. So I like to kind of chunk these and do a little bit at a time. So I will do this and just multiply those two. So 3 times 3 is 9. And then I will move on to the next one. 9 times 3 is 27. And then I'll go one more out. 27 times 3, I'm not really sure of that off the top of my head, so I'm going to just rewrite it and multiply that. So 7 times 3 is 21. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 more is 8. So I'm getting 81. So my product for this, remember product means the answer in a multiplication problem. My product, or my answer, is 81. Okay, so let's go on to number 2. We're going to do the same kind of idea. So it says 5 to the 6th power. So I'm going to do the base, 5, times itself 6 times. So I'm going to go 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, because I have to do that 6 times. And again, we actually need to solve these, so I'm going to rewrite that down here below as well. So I'm doing 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. This one looks like it might be a little bit of work, so that's okay. We can handle it. Again, I think chunking is going to be the best way. So 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 5, let's see, I can kind of do that down here at the bottom. 25 times 5, 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 more is 12. So I'm getting 125. I'm going to keep going. So the next 5, 125 times 5. Again, write that down here. I'm not really sure what that is. So 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 more is 12. And 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 more is 6. So I'm getting 625. I keep going though, so attach my next 5. 625 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25 again. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 more is 12. And 5 times 6 is 30, plus 1 is 31. So I'm getting 3,125. And I got to do one last one. So 3,125 times 5. 3,125 times 5. 5 times 5 again is 25. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. And 5 times 3 is 15. Whew. So it looks like we finally got there to our final answer. So let's see if we can squeeze it in this tiny box. We got 15,625 for our product. Hopefully you won't see any quite that big from here on out, but you can do it. Just break it down a little piece at a time and you could totally solve those. Okay, let's do one more. So if I go to number 3, it says 7 to the 3rd power, or 7 cubed. And again, this is telling me to multiply 7 times itself 3 times. So 7 times 7 times 7. Okay, running out of space down here. Let's see if I can make a little bit of room for us to do this one. Okay, so this time I have 7 times 7 times 7. Okay, and I'm going to chunk it. 7 times 7 is 49. 49 times 7. 49 times 7. I don't know what that is, so let's check. So 9 times 7 is 63. 7 times 4 is 28 plus 6. So 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. So it looks like I'm getting 343 for my product. Again, I'm going to have you go ahead and pause right here, fill in the next section where it says solve. You're doing the same thing. So write the product form, so the number being multiplied by itself, just like I just did, and then the actual answer, so your product that you get. And when you're done with that section, then come back to me. We're going to do one last little part together. Okay, so finally, we now are just going to kind of do this backwards. They're either telling us the exponent in writing, so with words, or they're telling it in product form where they have all the multiplication laid out and they want us to write these as an exponent, so a base and an exponent up in the corner. So I'm going to do 1, 2, and 3 with you, and then I'm going to ask you to go ahead and do 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so for number 1, I can see they're multiplying 8 over and over and over, which means 8 is going to be my base. So let's put 8 up there. And then we got to figure out what the exponent is. So remember, how many times I'm multiplying that 8 is going to be my base. So when I look here, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8. So it's going to be 8 to the 5th power. I just write that 5 a little up in the corner. Then let's go to number 2. This one's in words, so I just need to read it. So it says 9 to the 4th power. So 9 is my base. And the 4th power tells me my exponent is a 4. So 9 with a little 4 up in the corner. And finally, for the last one, 4 cubed. So 4 is my base. And cubed was one of our special words. So remember, squared means 2, cubed means 3. So I'm going to put a little 3 up in the corner. I want you to go ahead and pause it, do 4, 5, and 6, and when you are done, you are going to go back to the document you're working from, and the answer key is there. I want you to check all the sections that I had asked you to do on your own to make sure your notes are filled in properly.